This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories, and welcome to my review of the first 3 seasons of Young Justice. I will not be reviewing the first half of Young Justice Phantoms because I'm just going to wait for a full video to do that. I have reviewed the individual episodes though. There's a playlist, and I'll probably link it above. But with this, I think that really we got a pretty good seasons of the show. It was very intriguing. I actually did not watch this when I was a little kid. At the time I wasn't interested, but once the third season started coming out, I think I watched it about halfway into the third season when they were in the mid-season break. I watched the first, 2.5 seasons, and then started watching, when the episodes aired from there. And I fell in love with the show, and I think it's very good. And let's just go into it. And as usual, I'm also going to be talking about, I just have it pulled up on a separate tab that's I'm not seeing, all the individual episodes and storylines and stuff that I liked. And then I'll talk about, each season and the series as a whole. So, going with season 1, we have a pretty solid start up with its kind of 2-part premiere. I don't know if they actually aired as 2 parts in terms of the same day, but we have really the beginnings of the team. We have Robin, Aqualad, and Kid Flash forming the team after they rescue Superboy. And yeah, it was a really nice startup. And then the team begins to grow more and more with the episodes. We then have Miss Martian join in episode 3 and Artemis in episode 6. And it was very interesting to see, what's considered the classic team put at the beginning. And yeah, and then continuing on, we have some interesting stuff with Dr. Fate appearing and his first death. Well, in the show, because he has definitely died before, especially in a flashback where his the original person that he is, Nabu, was killed. But continuing on looking at it, we have just such interesting stuff. We have different storylines. We have Speedy and now as Red Arrow going and trying to prove himself as a hero. And then pretty early in, we have the relationship between Superboy and Miss Martian begin, which is at the end of episode 11. There's also a really crazy one where, the Red Tornado family shows up. And that was very interesting also to think that he was a traitor for at least some time. I also liked once, they started having other people come in, and Shazam was fun to be there. And I'm not really sure what the legal thing was, but I thought they weren't allowed to call him Captain Marvel anymore at the time. But I don't really know. Still, there is some really good stuff. I think that the first season is very solid. There's some good episodes. One of the most interesting ones is the one where they are in a simulation, but they don't know it after Miss Martian takes control and things get really crazy. And also the storyline built up with the light was very interesting. I also like everything going on with the Injustice League and how they were able to use it as a distraction. I think they did a very interesting version of Joker. And I like how they resolved the storyline later on in season 4, although I have talked about that already. I also have a nice one for Kid Flash where he helps save the Queen Perdita's life. And he learns all about humility And towards the end of the season, it gets very, intense as they're starting to get closer and closer to the mystery. The secret's starting to be revealed, and that ultimately, well, climaxes in the last two episodes, which again, I'm not really sure if they aired together, but these were the ones where they both realized who the mole was, with it being Red Arrow being a clone of the original Speedy, being, secretly controlled by Vandal Savage, although he didn't even know he was a mole. And then ultimately ending with them being controlled by the Starro technology they made and going out and attacking the team, although they were ultimately able to win. We definitely had some interesting stuff to set up season two. Yeah, I really enjoyed just the first season of Young Justice, and it definitely has the most solid team since it, well, focused on the least amount of characters. Although I do like the other seasons, they definitely are focusing on a lot more characters than just season one. And in season one, really, we only have two additions to the team, Zatanna and Rocket, and then, well, there is Red Arrow. And one thing I am wondering is why Red Arrow wasn't technically counted as a member of the team in what's called the opening credits to Phantoms, because he was on there for a little longer than Rocket was. She was only in there for actually the last two episodes, and he was both working with them and joined up with them for I think also two episodes, maybe three. But still, I think that they still did a good job. And yeah, let's move on to season two. Well, one last thing about season one is I really like, the story of the light, and I like how it was slowly revealed. And well, the only member of the light they lost was Ocean Master, who was arrested in, I believe, the 5 year gap. Maybe a little longer, maybe 6 or 7, but I think it was 5 years. And season two, which is the shortest one. I mean, technically, season four is right now since it hasn't aired all the episodes, but it will have 26 episodes. And I think every season besides season two does have 26 episodes. So season two is the shortest one since it only does have 20 episodes, but it still is interesting. We skip into the future and we get to see, well, all the members are grown up. Although I do have a few criticisms with this season, I'll mention them in a few minutes when I get to the episodes that I want to mention. But there was a nice start up with the New Year episode where we get introduced to the Quilletines, I believe, and they serve as a nice startup antagonist before the Reach do show up, and we get to learn of them. And I think the first few episodes they are good. They're not really amazing. I think stuff starts to get interesting once we get to episode 6 when Impulse does show up. Although the most interesting part is, at least in my opinion, the fact that Aqualad is a traitor from at least the first 5 episodes. And one thing that I was going to mention, I think I'll mention now, is I think that they revealed that it was, well, a trick way too soon. They reveal that right after Artemis is killed. And of course, it's a fake kill off, but I still think that they should have waited. I think it could have been interesting for us to believe that he was a full on traitor and did kill Artemis until we learned with Miss Martian of what happened, and they could have rearranged some scenes around So the episodes still had the exact same content, it was just moved around a little bit. I don't know exactly what they would do, but it's something kind of interesting where they could have had one of the episodes be a little longer, one where she figured everything out. Or they could have tossed one more episode in where we learned all about the plan and everything, and then put just a little bit more into the episode where Artemis is killed. So I think that that might have been just a little bit of a better way because I think that they shouldn't have revealed it so early on, and it could have been a lot cooler of a twist if we learned it when Miss Martian did do the mine attack on him. And yeah, I still think that it was a very good startup to the season. Definitely not as interesting with, everything with the light, but I still like the setup for the Reach. And honestly, I think that this is my least favorite season of it. Although season 4 hasn't finished, I think it's been solid so far. And although this isn't a bad season, it's just my least favorite. And then for the rest, we have just enough setup with a Reach, an eventual climax where they are able to defeat the Reach and go to the episode summit, which is actually the level that is being played right now from the Young Justice DLC from LEGO DC Supervillains. Although they'll be cutting to Justice footage most likely because I'm nearly out of the footage for this. So, yeah, season 2, I think that they did a good job. Not a, it's not the best job ever. I still think that the story was very solid, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. Although not as much as the other 3 seasons. And finally, looking at season 3 of Young Justice, we have definitely interesting start with everything with Markovia, and then I think that was well, it was the first 3 episodes, and I didn't watch these when they aired. I only started up at about episode 14 is when I started watching them when they released, and this is back when it was on DC Universe, long before HBO Max existed, and that streaming service, well, no longer technically exists. It's now just a comic thing, and I'm kind of surprised they do put the DC Universe original still at the front. And personally, that's just thing that kind of always annoys me is why do you think it's like original for this streaming service when it technically wasn't? They're just bringing the show back. I think I may have mentioned this to Clone Wars, and so it's just a little thing that annoys me. And going on, there is some more interesting stuff. We have just some setup. We see a few other interesting things. But one of the ones that I like it, but it's honestly, I think it was weird because when I originally watched it, for some reason the thing glitched and skipped over this episode, and I didn't actually watch it until I did a full rewatch of the show. I don't remember if it was that or if I remember hearing about it, because this is the episode where there was episode 5, Away Mission, where it was, what's his name, Red Hood, and potentially I think Damian Wayne were hinted at, but I just heard of that and I was like, I don't remember seeing that in the show. And then I realized that for some reason, when I was watching it originally, I for some reason skipped that episode. I was, I was kind of confused, but I did manage to watch that episode, and I think it is a good one. Also, some other interesting stuff, just setting up with more of the characters until we eventually get to them trying to become heroes and the beginning of the origins of the Outsiders. With episode 12 and episode 13, they are able to rescue Tara and they go for a Judas Contract like story, but with a nice twist in it. Yeah, I think that season three it had a really good start. I didn't think it was, maybe the best. I think that season one and season four are definitely above this. But still, I do enjoy all of the show. Even though it's the second to last, it's still not really an insult. It's saying like second to last best of, the. Well, I mean, technically it'd be like saying Return of the Jedi is the worst original trilogy movie, or A New Hope. They're still good movies, but well, it depends on how you are. There's, well, two more. The other two are better to you. And I think this definitely picks up in the back half of the season, where it gets a lot more intense, where we get to see a lot more of Darkseid's plan and how it interacts with Vandal Savage. We get to see the beginning of the Outsiders and, well, Black Lightning uncovering the conspiracy that Batman has set into motion. And ultimately, we get the defeat of Granny Goodness, and that episode finishes at episode 24. And then the last two are just kind of a resolution to the Markovia storyline and hanging up the loose ends, at least from the season. And I think that was a really interesting thing to do. I really did enjoy it, and I think that the ultimate twist at the end that they knew that Tara was a traitor and was trying to build trust with her so that she would be able to break free of Deathstroke's control, and then ultimately having Geoforce go and kill off his uncle and take the throne was very interesting and a unique twist. I definitely like that they weren't just going with the cliche Judas contract storyline. Yeah, I think that this was a really well done storyline. I think that, well, it was really unique, and I am fine with it being a little more political in this since it got a lot more mature. I think that, with shows that they can't either be immature or them to bringing political stuff in, but I think I was fine with this because, well, they're treating everything with more mature topics and ways of thinking and everything. So I think that this is completely fine. But I think if you just randomly throw political stuff in, that gets a little messy. But also, if we're not dealing it with care, and I think that everything was handled really well with season three. And yeah, I think that Young Justice overall is a really good show. I want to know what you think of Young Justice. And which one is your favorite season? Which one's your least favorite? I'd say personally, season one is still probably my favorite. Although I do enjoy all the seasons. I'd say it's right now it's probably one, four, and then it's three, and then two. Remember, it's all a good show, so I want to know what you think in the comments. Let me know, and I'll see you all in the next episode of Legends and Theories. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.